always said, yeah, I'm going to paddle all the channels, but I don't know that I ever really believed it until it was over.
It was just like, wow, this is an opportunity to see Hawaii in a different way, and to do something that not many people are given an opportunity to do. And even if they are given it, maybe not everybody would jump on it. And so it's like, I want to do something different where I can look back and be like, I'm really proud of that, and I am.
Your movie was really inspiring, cool. But what inspired you to make the movie?
You know, Morgan called me and asked me if I'd do this project with her, you know, because she wanted to paddle all the channels. And for me, I mean, it was just a tremendous opportunity, and I was honored that she trusted me with making it, because I'd never made a film before, nothing this long. So, yeah, I mean, it was just inspiring. Her trust in me was just really inspiring just to do it, you know.
Right, and I robbed myself of that channel.
It just gets loaded in the dump site, and it gets blown right back into like the plants, and then eventually right back.
We've never found any place in the North Pacific subtropical dry, outside this so-called eastern garbage patch or not, that has been plastic free.
You seem very passionate, like you really love the idea of like recycling the plastic bags. Mm-hmm. So how could we get the word out about doing that?
You know, in our film, we had Assemblywoman Brownlee talk about it, and I think it's just little simple things that we can all do. I mean, for me, it's funny, I used to be the plastic water bottle guy. Like, I love plastic water bottles. I mean, I had like 5 in my car. When I interviewed Charles Moore for our film, who discovered the Pacific Garbage Patch, I literally opened my car door and bottles came flying out of it. I mean, I was like, oh, I hope you didn't see those, you know. But when I saw on Molokai beaches with no footprints on them, but water bottles everywhere, just corroded, it kind of made me change my ways. And so I think if we just kind of tell people what's going on and point them to the right information and show them, you know, what's going on with these things, it makes you want to change. Especially as a surfer and a water person, I just took it personally, you know, and so I carry a water bottle now, and they're easy to fill. You can go into Starbucks and hand it to them; they'll fill it up for you. I've took it to the movies when I was at the festival, and they filled it up for me. I didn't have to worry about that. So I mean, it's kind of cool. Yeah.
I mean, I've always said that, like, you cannot fight with the ocean. You just can't. And the best that you can hope to do is negotiate with it. Because I hold the ocean in such high regard. I mean, it's the most valuable thing in my life. It's free. But I take a really large amount of responsibility with the freeness of it. Because it is here. You know, anyone who wants to, go to the beach and go in the ocean, and you can experience, hopefully, what I get out of it.
The story is someone told her she couldn't. Some guy said, like, you can't do that race, that's for watermen. And she's like, yeah. Well, okay, I think I have to do it now.
Mm-hmm. And then Jenny probably got inspired by her to start doing it. And then I hear you got inspired to do it after them, and now you're...
Well, yeah, I never crossed the channel. I never paddled that channel, no way. But I followed Morgan the second year she did it. I came out to shoot a video of her doing it because I was just like, I want to capture this. This would be interesting. And that's actually kind of like was a good test bed for what we did.
Yeah, what fully inspired you to start paddling after that film that you just did of them paddling?
Oh, well, I've been paddling for a couple of years before we made this film, and then now, for me, watching them do what they did, it made me kind of believe in myself more, and having this film done, definitely. Yeah. You know, I don't know if it's true for every filmmaker or whatever, but I did not start this project going like I'm the greatest. And this is going to be fantastic, and I'm going to win an Academy Award, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get into the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, don't you know my name? And I just came into it like, I hope this is good. I hope I can do a good job at this. And I'd never done something on this level before. And so I think in the process of making this and in the process of being out there on the islands, I really learned how to believe in myself. Yeah. And there's one incident in particular on Molokai. We had to swim to our boats a lot, which is not really fun when you have gear. But we would preload the boats and then like strap on dry packs with our clothes and stuff and swim to the boats. Yeah. And on Molokai, we actually had like big shore break that day. It was decent sized shore break where I was really nervous, and Morgan knew I was nervous. And And so she swam out with me, but it was like a big moment for me because I never thought I'd be able to do something like that and survive.
Yeah.
And it was like it was sizable. It wasn't like small. And I went through it and I got on the boat. And I'll tell you, after that, it's funny. After Molokai, you start seeing a lot more water shooting.
Yeah.
Because I was like really comfortable at that point. And I was like, I can do anything now, you know.
Yeah.
But it was but the whole process of being out there and making it, and then coming back and making it and getting it here, it's just been a process of learning how to believe in yourself. And really. That's why we all just decided, you know, this is a big moment for everybody. I mean, to be in this festival is a dream big moment for me.
Yeah.
This was the festival I didn't think we'd get into. And here we are.
Yeah.
You know, hanging out with you guys, which is really cool.
Yeah. What do you think was a really hard challenge on your journey?
I think there were a couple, and it's hard to really pin down what was most challenging because getting us to where we went to was pretty remarkable, and we were lucky to have Horny Toad, who's a Santa Barbara company here, come along and help us, and they sponsored our trip, and so that was one big challenge, is just getting it off the ground, because we were 4 people who had no background for people to bank on. I mean, we knocked on every sponsor's door that we could imagine, and they all turned us down. You know what I mean? And so it was like learning how to deal with that. I mean, I remember being on the phone with like the VP of marketing of a major company and like being like, we're gonna get there, they're gonna do it, and then the next day it's like an email, sorry, we're not gonna do your project, thanks though. It's like, okay, it's like you just learn to deal with rejection, and after a while you just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And then during the actual shooting, I mean, it definitely had presented so many challenges because we're in the middle of the ocean. You don't know what the ocean's gonna give you. We don't know what's gonna happen all the time.
Yeah.
So I literally had to roll camera all the time. I learned after the first channel, I just can't turn the camera off.
Yeah.
And so, you know, coming home, and then also on top of that, there were four of us that were on the trip all the time. We had a rotating cast of people who came in and out who were able to come along, but there were primarily 4 or 5 of us that were on the trip. So we were also responsible for our own logistics. So we had to figure out how to get from the boat harbor to the hotel, how to get stuff from island to island. I mean, it was a nightmare. Just figuring out what to eat every day was a nightmare, you know? And then on top of all that, getting home, I had over 100 hours of footage across, and then I had 2 terabytes of data cards from different cameras to deal with. So now it's like I had to edit all this. Yeah. And I also work a full-time job, and I have a wife, and I have rent, and I had a mortgage at that point, but now I have rent to pay. And so there was a lot of pressure to get this thing done, and it was not an easy task, because it was like up at 5 in the morning, and this is like the believing in yourself thing. I was like, I would get up at 5 in the morning, work on it a little bit, go to work, come home at like 4, go back to my desk, do like a Skype call with the girls. We try to figure out our script and how we're going to do this. I mean, it was a ridiculous process. And we only actually had like 6 months to finish it before we were slated to premiere. So it was a pretty crazy like time.
This was your first film, I believe. And what do you plan on doing anything else in the future with directing or?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I mean, it's been such a thrill ride to be here in Santa Barbara, and to be welcomed by the Santa Barbara film community. The other neat thing for us, for me at least here, is that this film has never been shown outside a paddle audience. So to have like the general public see the film and be like respond to it so well was really neat. As far as next, you know, I'm working with Aguilar on some of their public service announcement stuff. We're talking about doing something more in depth on the plastics issue. I'd also like to explore the possibility of doing some other California-based paddle films or something like that. I have a really crazy dream of, because I started shooting Super 8 regular film on this project, and I fell in love with it. I can't stop like shooting Super 8. I don't know why. It's like my wife like sees me in the morning. I'm walking around with the camera, it's Super 8 camera, like, oh, that's so cool. And so I really want to do a Super 8 short film. I'm dying to do something on that format and surfing. I just haven't figured out what that's going to be. So.
If you could choose any scene that in the film that you just made, what would be one to show an audience?
Wow, that is a tough question. That is really tough. You know, I mean, there's even stuff that I couldn't put in just because we didn't fit the story that I think is amazing. There's one shot, there is actually one shot where I'm like, that is a shot. And that was in the Lanai, when they paddled from Maui to Lanai, and you guys saw that. It's not very long of a shot in the film, but it's of Morgan and Jenny, and then Slater Trout's on that paddle. And they're in the middle of the ocean, there's an island over here, and there's a rainbow.
Yeah.
And I remember shooting that going, this is the shot. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
when you have a shot, you know this is the shot. Usually you screw it up. But for whatever reason, that time I didn't, you know. And that was one of those ones that was like, wow, this whole project is amazing. Like, and I remember being completely humbled being able to be there. The other moment, I think, and it's not big in the movie, but it's there, was when we went to Wahua Rock and we dove down and the water was so clear, there were like thousands of fish. And it was just the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. And to this day, it's like, I think of that. I like check out to that moment and I see the footage and I just go, it's like taking a deep breath.
Yeah, it's probably a life-changing experience
It is.
for you.
It definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the funnest scene to make?
The funnest thing to make, you know what the funnest session we had was the girls surfing on Molokai. Like, that was so much fun to shoot. And it was like, and it's so rare, you're in Hawaii and you have a perfect left, and I'm a goofy foot, so I'm a sucker for a good left. And we had offshore wind, it was just overhead. I mean, it was just beautiful. And like the rain would come in and soak us, it'd soak me. I had like rain jackets for the camera, so I had to cover everything and make sure like I wasn't gonna ruin all the gear, which eventually the gear did all get all ruined. But like there was a rainbow behind me, like the girls are surfing, it's like tropical rain. I'm just like, who gets to do this? You know, and I'm doing something I love. I mean, I was playing with all the, what's funny about the surf sequence, a lot of that's handheld. And it looks like, because I was playing between different cameras, I was like, well, which camera should I use for this part? You know, and I had to whip out the Canon 7D, or I'd use my big Sony camera, or I would use the Super 8 camera. So sometimes I would get a wave and I'd have to grab the 7D and just shoot that handheld. And I'm like, wow, that actually turned out pretty good. I can handhold a camera that good, you know, and it was just so much fun. I mean, because we were just all playing. And I think when the group was all playing together, we had the most fun. I think that was the key to the whole thing.
My favorite scene was when the dolphins, when she started swimming with the dolphins, and then when the wave went all the way over the boat. That was so cool.
Yeah, those were two very hair-raising experiences. The dolphins not so much, but when we broke through the breaking wave, we actually did that twice. We actually did it in the first channel. I didn't have the camera rolling, but in the first channel we got torpedoed by a wave, and then that Molokai North Shore trip. I mean, those guys were insane. They were having so much fun. That's the funny part. It's like, hang on. I just remember hearing them going, hang on. And then you like flew backwards. And then next thing you know, it's like, you were just like, I'm like, we're going to die. I mean, that was one of those times I'm like, we're just going to die. There's just no point. But it was funny. And then we had to break through two other ones too.
Yeah, I'm even scared, like going out on a paddleboard or something, going out into the ocean with waves here that aren't even over the size
and coming back, you know, those girls paddled we had like 15-foot swells going downwind, and then we had to drive the boat back, and so we were like just flying, and we were soaked and cold, and just like all kinds of funny B-roll. Me and Jenny in the front of the boat just laughing and like flying around, and like it was ridiculous. I was bruised after that. It was so bad. But yeah, it was good times.
I could imagine.
Did you have any like weird experiences like in the middle of the ocean on like the 85 or 80, what was it, 82?
82 miles, yeah.
82 mile paddle where you're like, wait, I'm just in the middle of the ocean in like, did you have any weird memories like that? Like,
I think the worst, the only like heebie-jeebie moment I had, or boogeyman moment I had in the water, was when we started that paddle. We started off Kaina Point, and it was funny. I don't remember if it was before or after, but someone told me like, you know, these are some sharky waters, and I'm in the water like shooting, and I'm like, oh, so it's like tiger shark den I've been hanging out in, you know.
Yeah, especially when you guys thought that whale was a shark, when Jenny was freaking out.
You know, and that was funny because we were trying to figure out like, when that happened, everybody on the boat, like Greg, Morgan's dad, who's like an avid water photographer, and myself, were like, can we get in? How do we, like, we were trying to figure out a way, because those pilot whales, or false killer whales, were going so fast. And we couldn't just stop the boat and jump in because they would just go by. And so we were trying to figure out how we can get in and shoot them. So I had taken a Waterhouse camera, put it on a pole, and like shoved it down into the water to try to do the old hydrophone method or something to try to get something. Of course, none of that came out, you know. But like, I mean, we were trying everything we could to get something under the water of those guys. It was so amazing. They were so fast, and they were like coming right up to them. I mean, Morgan couldn't put her blade into the water because she'd hit one. So they were literally like inches below their board, just hanging out. It's pretty crazy.
So, did you have any like heroes that like you were inspired by that like to make films?
Guys? Oh, definitely. There's Jason Boffa, who made a film called Single Fin Yellow, which is one of those films that kind of changed how I see surf films. The film has a really rich kind of cool story to it. Beautiful filmmaking. I mean, some of the shots in there are just inspiring beyond all belief. The soundtrack's awesome. And then he had another one followed up with it called One California Day, which is just on the same level, you know. And so guys like that who are just sort of doing their thing that they believe in, I just love. And especially when there's a good story attached to it, I'm a sucker for it. And so I'm hoping that I can follow that tradition, you know. And I went out and bought a Water Cows Super 8 cameras. I don't know what that's going to produce, but we'll find out, you know. And I just want to kind of follow that path of just making some kind of different stuff, you know, because I think surf filmmaking is entering a new. It's entering a different phase, you know, like Jack McCoy's movie has some like history and it has like a lot of textures to it. Whereas before it used to be like, here's Kelly on another wave, and here's, you know, Tom Curran surfing another wave, you know. And whereas now people, I think, want to know more about what's going on, and I think that's really good. I think, and so those guys, Jason Boffa is definitely a big inspiration for me. He's one of those guys. Everything he does, I'm just like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, this is awesome.
Yeah.